And we're live. Hello and welcome. Welcome to my humble abode in Berlin, where I'm just sort of chilling out. Apologies for the lateness of the start of this. I didn't actually even know that it had gone up on the page, to be honest. I've just been fiddling around because we've had some difficulties with the internet here again, but this seems to be running okay. Let me know if the picture is bad. Let me know if the sound is particularly bad. Like I said, theoretically, the internet should be better here, so it's a bit fucking annoying, to be honest, but there you go. These things are sent to try us. So listen, I wanted to come on to do just a quick stream tonight, probably not anything longer than about half an hour or so. Jack Napier is here. Thank you. Good to see you, Jack, as always. Yeah, I wanted to do a quick stream because, guys, I have hit 1 million views on YouTube. 1 million views on YouTube. That's 1 million times people have come and watched me talking about BS on YouTube, which is, when you think about it, it's pretty mental, isn't it? I mean, it could be the same person. It could be the same person like 1 million times. Maybe there's just some really obsessive person who just watches all of my content, and that person has watched my content 1 million times. But I guess that's unlikely. So yeah, 1 million views. You know, it's a milestone. I'll be honest, actually. We hit 1 million views a little while ago, at least a week ago. It may even be longer, to be honest. I saw that we'd hit 1 million views, and I didn't think to do anything about it at the time. And then I was just going through some analytics and stuff again today, and I saw that indeed it's 1 million views that the channel's had. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to post about it on social media. I'm going to say something about it because it's a milestone of sorts, isn't it? You know, 1 million views, it's a lot. Now, if you're fresh and fit, it's probably nothing. They got 9,000 views last night when Andrew Tate was on, for example. So, you know, all of these things are relative. But 1 million views, you know, it's something, isn't it? Are we going a bit blurry here? It is something. And so, you know, why not have a little bit of a celebration about it? So in order to celebrate, I'm going to drink some of this beautiful Saskia classic Berlin fizzy mineral water. And perhaps you guys would like to raise a glass with me as well, because, you know, 1 million views, it's a lot of views, and yeah, you know, it's as I say, it's a milestone of sorts, I suppose. But I think with all of these things, cheers. I think with all of these things, though, you know, it's all about process, isn't it? It's about process rather than milestones. Milestones are important, yes, but you need to be focused on process. And all I've been doing with this channel, and all I was doing with my blogging before, and writing and everything else that I've done, really, is just to concentrate on the next thing. Is concentrate, right, okay, so what's the next live stream going to be about? How can we do that live stream or that video as well as possible? What guest would be interesting to bring on to talk about that particular topic? What topic has been talked about but maybe doesn't quite get the, you know, the depth or the insight that I think it should get? And, you know, it's focusing on one step at a time, one increment at a time. And you're not really thinking, well, I want to build up to, you know, 1 billion subscribers, or I want to hit this number of views, or anything like that. You're just thinking about it one step at a time. Well, that's how I operated anyway. Maybe other people are different. And it still looks a bit blurry, doesn't it? It's a little bit blurry. Silver Bishop, good to see you, man. Viking says, internet quality is not about speed. You need hardware that gives you control. Elad Katabi has quite an in-depth question here. He says, found you at 21. What is the best way to start my life on the right path as a man? That's quite in-depth, actually, mate. Just hold that thought for a second. We'll go into that in a minute. So yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so it's about these incremental improvements. But thank you to everybody who's on here. There's a few people on here. It's not as busy as some of the streams that we do, but thank you to the people who are on here who have supported me and the stuff that I put out. I'm glad if I'm bringing some value with my inane ramblings. I really am, because a lot of this stuff I do for myself, in the sense that when I'm imparting advice or I'm talking about a subject and I'm saying, well, this is a good way to proceed with this particular thing, a lot of the time I'm actually talking to myself as much as anybody else. So it's not as if I'm trying to suggest that I'm in an ivory tower and I'm dispensing these pearls of wisdom because I'm so wise and so fantastic. A lot of the time I'm actually addressing myself as well. And Tusk was saying something similar to this the other night. And, you know, if somebody gets helped along the way, then that's great. But ultimately, we're all in this together. We all need to learn these lessons together. And we're all just feeling our way, really, through the dating jungle, through the jungle of life itself. It's been said, hasn't it? Nobody really knows all the answers. People pretend that they know the answers, but they don't really. And we're all like that. Nobody really knows the answers, in inverted commas, because I don't believe there are any answers. There are just different ways to navigate life. And giving that some serious thought and talking about that and discussing it, I think, is an important thing. And that's why I like to, on this channel, talk to different kinds of people. So we had Tristan Tate on last week, which was great conversation. If you haven't seen that, I'd encourage you to go back and have a look. Obviously doing a lot of work with Jack Napier. We've just been through the entire Art of Seduction book, which we've broken down. Jack's a really intelligent guy, really perceptive. Great to get his input. On Friday, I will be speaking, and this is an exclusive, I'll be speaking to James Marshall from the Natural Lifestyles from TNL.com. Now, James Marshall is really one of the people I admire most in this space, in this industry, and talking about dating, about game, about meeting girls, but beyond that, about how to live successfully as a man and how to navigate life. And James has been in the game, and I mean the game as in terms of being a coach, a consultant, a content creator, for many years. And they have a big audience now. Their channel, The Natural Lifestyles, it has just shy of 100,000 subs. So, you know, he's done really, really well over the years. And I just really like his approach. He's a very mild-mannered, unassuming sort of a guy in one sense. He's also obviously very, very perceptive, very intelligent, very cultured, quite artistic, you know, quite different to some of the other characters that we see in this space. And for me, that's what it's all about, really. I really like to just talk to different kinds of people and get these different kinds of perspectives on this stuff, because it's not one size fits all. I mean, not everybody. I mean, I love Tristan Tate. I think he's a fantastic guy. And I really like Andrew as well, actually. I had a brief exchange with Andrew a couple of days ago as well. And, you know, I really like those guys. I find them fascinating. But not everybody clearly is going to have the Tate lifestyle, or indeed even necessarily want to have the Tate lifestyle. You know, we're all different. There are different ways of approaching this stuff. Equally, you know, I love somebody like James Tusk, who I've got to know fairly recently, within the last year, and I'm increasingly doing more work with as we go forward. Again, another great guy, very, very, you know, despite his sort of Chad status, you know, actually very, very thoughtful, very intelligent guy, quite, you know, really thinks about life, really thinks about what it is to live and to be a man, to be a human being at this particular point in history. And, you know, and even someone like John MLD as well. I mean, John MLD, very, very different character to James Tusk again. When you think, you know, and indeed to James Marshall. So we've got all these different sorts of guys. But I find myself, when John MLD is on this channel, I'm having similar sorts of conversations with him that I'm having with Tusk, in the sense that we're talking about, well, okay, so we're interested in dating, we're interested in, meeting girls, we're interested in doing this stuff and travel and living a great life and freedom and these things. But what's the meaning of it all? What's the end game of it all? Where does this all end up? Where does this all get us? And it's really cool just to have this network of guys, and we can all talk about this stuff, because yes, okay, there is a place, I suppose, for, I just want to go out and date loads of girls and have lots of hedonistic fun, and that's going to be it. And believe me, I spent a lot of my life in that space, and there's nothing wrong with that per se. But we also have to recognize that life is much more complex and multifaceted than that. And it's really interesting talking to all manner of different people to try to sort of get to the bottom of this, or at least to swap notes, because you can't, it's not like John MLD is going to have the answer. It's not like even Rollo Tomasi is going to have the answer, or anybody. No one person is going to say, this is the answer, this is how you solve all of your life's problems. But it's good to get different people's perspectives on this stuff. I was going to mention another figure then. Just all the people that I get on here. I mean, Paul Benjamin, again, a very different kind of a guy, but he brings his own perspective to it. Again, very, very thoughtful man, has some amazing insights into gender dynamics, into social dynamics, into game, into dating. And what's surprising, I mean, clearly on the surface, I'm quite a different character to Paul, not least in terms of my physical size compared to his. But actually, when we started to talk and we started to swap notes, what you notice is that the way that we look at a lot of this stuff, particularly some of the dark triad stuff and some of the more mental side of the dating space, if you like, or the dating experience, we're actually very similar in the way that we look at a lot of these things. And I find that really interesting as well. So, as I say, with the channel, it's really just been all about bringing in all these different voices, bringing in all these different ideas, and trying to work out what the hell, okay, so out of all of this, how do we go forward? What is the best strategy that we can have, certainly for dating, because obviously that's sort of bread and butter in terms of what we talk about here, but also in other elements as well, because it's, as I said, it's not just dating. It's also what kind of life do you actually want to live? What kind of existence do you really want to have? Do you want to have a very traditional life where you've got 2.4 kids and you're married and you live in the suburbs and all of that stuff? Or do you want to do something a little bit different? And the great thing about living in 2021, particularly as we start to pull out of the pandemic, fingers crossed, is that we do have the option to live our lives in many, many different ways. We don't have to just stick to the old template. When my dad was young, my dad had me first born when he was age 24. He then had my sister a few years later, and then he had another daughter sometime after that. But really, his life was mapped out at that point, and that was in the 1970s, which isn't that long ago in the big scheme of things, but looks like an age ago now if you look at pictures from that time. But there was never really any question that he was going to get married. There was never really any question that he was going to settle down, he was going to find a wife, he was going to have kids, because that's just what you did. Now, to some extent, in some places, depending on your social circle and your, the kinds of people you surround yourself with, perhaps it is still something that you just do. I think for many people it is. Life is a certain way. This is the pattern. This is what you have to do. These are the steps that you have to take. And a lot of people do just go along with that. But increasingly, not everybody. And we are certainly freer today to carve a different path than probably we've ever been before in the whole history of humanity. And I've talked about this many times, so I probably don't need to reiterate it too much, but think about why that's the case. Well, a lot of it is down to technology. You know, we have fast broadband. Well, except here. Most people have fast broadband except me. And I seem to be jinxed with it for some reason, wherever I am. But we have fast broadband. We have fast internet. We have all manner of apps and internet sites to make our lives easier, from everything from banking to accepting payments to travel to dating, obviously all the dating apps and everything else. Today, all of your life really is in this, or in my case, it's also in my computer, because I take my laptop everywhere I go. And the setup that I've got now, because I brought a couple of bits with me to Berlin. I don't have my normal microphone. I've got a small light. I've got a camera. Obviously, I've got the laptop. I've got some cables and stuff. Really, I could be broadcasting this from anywhere in the world with a half-decent internet connection. And I could be putting out this content, and I could be doing an interview with somebody. I could get somebody else onto this stream. Incredible. You know, I know we always bang on about this. I know we always talk about this and kind of reiterate the same point each time, but it really is amazing, isn't it, when you think about it, that we have the ability to do this. I mean, I came over to Berlin on Sunday, and it looks like I'm going to be here for the whole week. Well, just kind of deciding about the weekend, really. It looks like I'm going to be here for the whole week, though. And really, in terms of the work that I've had to do, it's made absolutely zero difference. You know, like the fact that I was sitting in London last week, I'm sitting in Berlin this week, zero difference to what I've had to do, because everything is completely portable. So I'm working on the new program, the new course that I will be putting out soon, and that's going to be called Dating Conversation. Fucking hell, I can't remember what I'm going to call it. Jesus. All right, strike that from the record. Hold that for a minute. We're still deciding the name, actually, but it's going to be about dating conversation. Okay. Anyway, that course, I'm working on that now, and everything that I need in order to build that out just comes with me. It just comes with me in the cloud, in the computer, in the hard drive, and it makes no difference. It makes no difference that I've come here. If I go on somewhere else, if I go on to another country now, a third country, it's also going to make no difference. It's going to make zero difference to my ability to do my work. Now, okay, I'm fortunate in the sense that I'm self-employed, and I've also, because I've been doing this for a few years now, I'm sort of set up really quite well. A few years ago, when I first gave up the corporate gig, it was 2018. That's right. It was 2018. And I actually came over to Berlin, and the plan at that point was I was going to come and live here. That was the plan. I was going to leave London. I was going to come and live here, save a bit of money, experience a new place, whatever. And I did that for a short period of time. And then I ended up going back to London, to be honest. I went back to London for a visit, and then the visit just got extended and extended. I kind of ended up staying in London, really, and traveling over here sometimes. So I didn't actually live here for any full length of time. And there were a couple of reasons for that. But one of the reasons was that when I first started doing this as a job full time, okay, I had certain things in place. Like I had a blog in place, a website in place. I had my Twitter feed. I was getting some book sales and things like this. But it took me a while to really get the wheels moving so that I was up and running and it was functioning as a kind of a a business. You know, it was functioning as in, okay, right, so this is what I need to do today. That's what I need to do tomorrow. That's what I need to do the next day. And today, because some time has passed and because I've been doing this and doing it consistently for, 3 years, I am now much better set up. So now I probably could just take a flight to Minsk or to Ukraine or wherever will let me in and put the computer down in the Airbnb or the hotel and just start working, because now I'm just in much more in a sort of a routine. I've got much more kind of structure behind what I'm doing. And I think back in 2018, when I first tried to do this, I wasn't really in that place. So that was a long monologue really about my own personal situation. But the reason for talking about that was to say that if you are thinking of taking this plunge, if you are thinking of, okay, right, I want to be self-employed, I want to be location independent, I want to be able to experience this kind of life, then maybe it'll be different for you. But in my experience, you're going to need a little bit of time to kind of get yourself set up, to get your processes set up before you just head off on the road. Having said that, that's just me. And maybe I'm a little bit set in my ways. Maybe I just need a little bit more sort of not hand holding, but I don't know, maybe, because I think someone like Tusk, my understanding with Tusk was he did pretty much just up sticks one day, start traveling, and it kind of all fell together. But for me, I just needed that sense of getting myself into a routine, getting myself into a structure. So if you're thinking about doing this, do bear that in mind. But nevertheless, it's not insurmountable. It's not going to take you that long. Whatever your business is, you're going to have certain things that you need to do, certain processes. Just get in the habit of that. You've got all your software sorted. You've got all of your, whatever the tools you're going to use to deliver. Once all that's in place, then it doesn't matter whether you're here or you're in Budapest or you're in, Tokyo or Vietnam or whatever, right? It's just, you could be anywhere on the planet. And that is an incredible thing. And I think that, I am very, very grateful for that. And gratitude, we were talking about the other day, gratitude, very important. I'm very grateful for that. But also it's something I've worked at. I do work at this. I mean, you get all these people out there like, yeah, fraud, he's a scammer, he's a fraud, and blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, you might not like my content, and that's fine, that's fair enough. But, I am working hard at this stuff. I'm working every day, either putting out content or preparing content or working on things behind the scenes or obviously working with some of the clients that I work with and so on and so forth. And it's not just sitting around, making sex jokes with John MLD. There is more to it than that, and I'm not saying that to polish my halo or anything like that. It's just to say that it's like anything, you need to put that work in. You need to be prepared to graft. It's been said, hasn't it, that if you are self-employed, you work harder than if you're traditionally employed. And I don't know if that's entirely true. The thing was, when I was working corporate in London, I went through periods of being incredibly stressed. Really, really bad anxiety. Basically, really unhappy for a lot of it. I mean, there were parts that were okay, and I met some good people and things. But for a lot of it, I was very unhappy, and there was a lot of stress. It was a pretty high pressure job. I worked in a pretty high pressure industry. And the other thing with corporate work as well is, of course, you have to deal with personality. So you're not just dealing with your clients and your competitors, you're also often actually battling people within the organization itself, which is a nightmare. But that's just how organizations work. Now, when you then become self-employed, it's still stressful in a sense because, well, if you don't make any money, you kind of don't eat. You end up on the streets. Theoretically, that should be more stressful because in a way the stakes are higher. But I have to say, I've actually found it to be less anxiety provoking than the corporate stuff. Even though if I don't make any money, then I'm going to be dead in the street. And I think that's because when you are effectively just dealing with yourself, I don't have employees. I obviously have colleagues. I have people that I work with, some of whom I mentioned already on this stream. But those are all fairly flexible arrangements, let's say. And nobody's working for anybody else. You can make decisions to work with people. Like you can do a show with another content creator. You can do create a course with another content creator, or do an event. But you're going into it as joint partners, So yeah, I mean, I found this to be hard work, sure. But then you don't mind working hard on things that you're interested in. You don't mind working hard on your own stuff. Found it to be hard work, and I suppose it's stressful in a way. But I haven't found it to be as stressful as I found the corporate stuff to be. And I think there's a lesson in that, really. I think that corporate environments, by and large, can become very, very toxic. And I don't know that that's anybody's fault. Maybe it's just how human nature is. That you get a bunch of people together in a hierarchy and it just becomes competitive and backstabbing and unpleasant. Maybe that's just how human beings work. It probably is. But if you can avoid subjecting yourself to that, then it's probably a good idea that you do avoid subjecting yourself to that. I'm certainly a lot happier now that I'm out. Anyway. Tom says, good evening, Troy and the gang. Good evening, mate. How are you? Well, I mean, who hasn't, to be honest? I mean, like, if you hadn't been debunked by that gentleman, then you'd feel a bit left out, wouldn't you, really? Because pretty much everybody in the entire space, except for him, has been debunked. So it's a bit like, well, so you're basically saying everybody in the entire internet is a fraud, except, funnily enough, for you. So yeah, But no, James Marshall, I'm really looking forward to chatting with him. Because he's just a really intelligent guy. Really perceptive guy. A gentleman, seems to be. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that conversation goes. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to be doing a stream with Tusk, okay? And it's going to be early. I think UK time, it's going to be 11 a.m. And Berlin time or European time, it's going to be noon, midday. And we're going to be talking about travel again, but we're going to be talking about travel in the context of opening your mind and the value of travel for giving you new experiences, opening yourself up, making you a different kind of a person, and the effect that it has on you, not just when you're on the trip, which is what everyone thinks about, but what about when you get home? What about when you return to rainy Birmingham? You know, you've been in Brazil, you've been chatting to all these beautiful women and you've been having this amazing time. That's fine there, but what about when you go back to Birmingham? And the argument, and this is something I was talking to Sam from Fluid Social about, the argument is that actually it does benefit you. It does benefit you. Even when you go back to your home environment, it benefits you because it shakes up your energy. And so the energy that you then present when you go back to the home environment is different and people react to you differently. And it's all good as a result. So what I wanted to talk about, well, let's have a look at some comments here. How do you buy your girlfriend's breast augmentations? No, I don't, actually. No, I've never bought a woman breast augmentations. I was thinking about it for myself. maybe that could be something I'll do in South America at some point later in the year, but I haven't actually bought it for a girl. I did know a bloke who I worked with who did that, actually. He was dating, got to be careful with the anonymity here, but he was dating this girl, and he did buy her a pair of breasticles, and then he dumped her shortly afterwards. So I don't think he really, I guess it was kind of a waste of money, right? I don't think he really cared. I don't think he was really the kind of guy. He wasn't too bothered. He was quite flash with the old money. And she got a free pair of boobs out of it. So he went off and cheated on her with somebody else. She was upset about that, but she did get a free pair of breasts. So I guess everyone kind of won in a way. I don't know. It's not something I've ever involved myself in, though, personally, I have to say. Hot and Steamy says, nice shirt, by the way. I bet you've been on hundreds of dates in that shirt. Haha. I don't think I have, actually. This shirt, which I really like, was here in Berlin, and it's been here for months, and I'm going to take it back with me because it's pretty cool. But I haven't worn it out for a while. But thank you. Beautiful story. Yes, indeed. JD, somebody else asked about Berlin. How is Berlin right now? I'm eager to return to Hamburg as soon as, frankly. Where are you? Forgive me, where are you at the moment? There is somebody who watches who's in Hamburg, isn't there? That's not you, presumably. Well, Berlin at the moment is sort of, I mean, there's not a lot to do because everything's closed, right? Or at least you can't go in anywhere. You can't go in restaurants or cafes except to get takeout. Obviously, the clubs are all closed. Shops are open, but if it's, and I'm not even entirely sure of the rules, but it seems to be, if it's a non-essential shop, like if you want to go to a shop that sells furniture, well, probably clothes shops, actually. If you want to go into a clothes shop, my understanding is you need to have a negative COVID test. So you can go into the basic places like supermarkets, spaties, they call them here, which are liquor stores, you know, places that sell sweets and things. Basic stuff you can go into and it's no problem. More non-essential fancy stores, you need apparently to have a negative COVID test, which is too much of a pain for me. So I just haven't bothered to go to any of those stores. But as a consequence of that, what you've now got here on the streets in Berlin is hundreds and hundreds of these mini COVID testing centers that have been set up. So there's all these like little shop fronts, and you've got like a girl standing at the front with a clipboard with a COVID mask on, sort of filling in the clipboard, and people queuing up to go in to get COVID tests, because now you need to get COVID. You need to have a COVID test to kind of do anything. Apparently, you need to have a COVID test to get a haircut. Which is a pain. I mean, I have to say, I mean, we've done some pretty nutty things in the UK, but we haven't gone that far yet. So that is annoying. But aside from that, it's sort of today was quite nice spring weather. It's been a bit cold, but it's bright. People are out and about. There's a lot of people around town, walking around, buying coffee, sitting in the park, stuff like that. There's quite a good vibe, actually. I was surprised at how good the vibe is. You know, people are out and about. There's some socializing going on. It's not bad. It's not bad. And I'm told that the restaurants are going to be opening quite soon, and probably then outside of bars and things like this. So I think as it gets warmer and we get further into the spring and into the summer, it's going to be good. As I say, the atmosphere already is quite. I was expecting, because I had to come over here to do some work, and I was expecting it to be a bit miserable, to be honest. Because bearing in mind, I've just left London, and in London, it's opening up. You know, London, you can go and have a meal outside a restaurant. You can go to a bar and all this kind of stuff outside. So I thought, well, this is crap. I'm going to Berlin. It's going to be a bit miserable, but I've got to do it. And actually, it's actually been quite nice to come here. And maybe we'll talk about this more tomorrow with Tusk, but this is part of that, the value of travel sort of thing, because it's been quite nice to come here. It's just been, I've really been out of England for, well, certainly about 10 months. Haven't been out of the UK for 10 months. And just to go somewhere else, just to walk around some different streets, see some different people, has been pretty good. It's been pretty good. As I say, I am going to go back I'm going to go back in the next few days because I have to, because I'm going to be doing the event in London with Tusk, which is on May the 20th to May the 23rd. And by the way, if you want more information about that, we're going to be coaching a group of guys. There's a couple of spots left. If you want more information about that, drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com. That's troy@realtroyfrancis.com. Put your WhatsApp number in there. We can have a conversation about it. That is coming up. So I need to obviously get back to London to do that. Then I've got to come back here to do something else. Then it's back to London. And then after that, after sort of June, I'm kind of, well, you know, let's just see what happens, lads. But yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's not bad. It's not, I mean, like, you know, it's nothing like how it normally is when everything's open, because Berlin is a great nightlife city. I mean, the clubs here are, as Mark Naughty Nomad would say, the crack's amazing. You know, it's off the hook. It's off the hook. You've got some of the greatest clubs, DJs, etc., parties in the world. Fantastic, amazing. Obviously, all of that's gone. But, you know, I've enjoyed it. Had a nice time walking around. I've got some friends here, so I've been catching up with friends. Met up with a friend today for a coffee. Seeing someone for dinner tomorrow. Might be doing another dinner on Friday. So, you know, I mean, it's all right. It's been pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, if you don't have a reason to be here and you don't have friends here, I at the same time, I wouldn't say jump on a plane and come, because you want to leave it a little bit until it starts to open out a little bit more, I would say. B. Donus says, have you ever been to the Club Berghain in Berlin? Are LGBTQ friendly clubs good to hit on girls, or would that be a waste of time? Well, it's an interesting question. And this is something actually I covered somewhat in a video I did a week or so ago called My CD Nightlife Exposed, where I was talking about some of the dodgy clubs and things that I've been to in the past. Yes, I've been to Berghain several times. I say several, probably about 10 times or something like that over the years. For people who don't know, Berghain is a very, very famous, trendy techno club with a very strict door policy, so it's quite hard to get in. I got in on a number of occasions, and I've also been turned away on a number of occasions as well. It's kind of a bit random. The times I've been, I've had a really good time. It's a mixed club, so you have some gay people there, you have many girls, many straight people as well. It's just everybody, but they try to keep the mix. Oh shit! Oh bloody hell! They try to keep the mix very good, so that there's a what they consider to be a good atmosphere there. So yeah, Berghain definitely worth a go. I mean, it's going to be nuts when it reopens. There's going to be there's going to be queues a mile long to get into that place. So I'm not sure I'm going to be rushing back because the pent up demand, you know, is going to be so much. But yeah, Berghain's a lot of fun. It's a bit hardcore for me these days, I have to say. I mean, you have to remember, lads, I mean, I am not as young as I used to be. And I was a serious, like, nightclub person. I was going clubbing to techno clubs, house clubs, all this kind of stuff for years. You know, most of my youth has been spent in, you know, clubs and sometimes doing some naughty substances and all the rest of it. These days, to be honest, I like to go, particularly somewhere like here. I like to go in Berlin because it's cool. It's just great, see different people, etc., etc. But I'm not going to be there till 7 in the morning. You know, it's too much these days. Are LGBTQ friendly clubs good to hit on girls? Yes, they are. Now, actually, Ryan Stone, of all people, did a video about this a week or so. And I was going to actually do a video responding to his video, if you like. He did a video, and it was based on a post that was written by the blogger Royce, who is God, sorry, I'm getting tired. The old memory's going. But Royce, the blogger, wrote a post. Chateau Artiste, sorry, he was a great game writer and blogger, and he wrote a post where he was making the argument that actually gay-friendly clubs or gay clubs are a good place to go to hit on girls. And this is not something that was unique to him. This was something that actually would get talked about quite a lot. It still does get talked about quite a lot, because particularly in London, or perhaps probably here, because and by the way, you have to make the distinction here. When we're talking about LGBTQ friendly clubs, we're not talking about some kind of hardcore male only kind of spaces. What we're talking about is these mixed clubs where you'll get the gay guys there, the gay girls there, but you'll also get straight girls in particular there as well. Now, the reason why it's good, or the reason why it can be good, is because, for a start, those guys are up for a lot of fun. You know, the atmosphere is sort of the cracks off it's off the charts, you know, because it's high energy. They're there for fun. It's like, you know, very hedonistic and all that kind of stuff. And also you get straight girls who are there because they're friends with the gay guys. But of course, your competition is going to be low because there aren't that many other straight guys there. And also the girls, you know, they're out and about, they're partying, they're maybe getting in the mood for something to happen, but it's somewhat frustrating for them, arguably, because there aren't that many straight guys there. So yes, those clubs can be very fertile as a hunting ground. I wouldn't say to base your whole strategy on it, but, you know, when I was talking about this on my stream the other week, I had a couple of guys in the comments saying, "Oh yeah, I was at so and so in London, and I met this gorgeous Swedish girl, and yeah, I was at this you know, mixed gay place in wherever it was, and yeah, there were these gorgeous two lesbians, and we all ended up making out and blah blah blah." So those kind of atmospheres, you can get some crazy stuff happening there. So it's definitely worth not ruling out. I wouldn't, as I say, I wouldn't do it as your main strategy, but like, yeah, why not? Sure, if there's some good parties on, and there are girls there, then it's, you know, definitely can be a very good hunting ground. Strategic Dating says, are the prostitutes requiring a negative COVID test? The ones in Berlin were some of the hottest I've seen. I don't know the answer to that, but probably yes. I would imagine so, because they seem to be doing a COVID test for pretty much everything. So I would imagine for that, yes. There's a street actually in Berlin called Kurfürstenstrasse, and I was walking along there the other day, and I was surprised to see, because this is where it's very famous for like hookers hanging out there, and I was surprised to see there were quite a number of girls actually out in the streets looking for clients. So, but I see, you know, I guess a small thing like COVID's not gonna put them off, right? European cities make you want to socialize. Everybody's walking and biking. That's true. Mies says, I was going to ask the same as JMC. I've heard that you cannot really fit in German society if you don't speak fluent German. Cannot say I blame them. Suleiman says Germans are very dark people under the surface. Yeah, I think that's true. So sorry, this guy was asking if I speak German. The answer is no, not really. No, I don't. I know a few words. That's about it. Well, the thing with Berlin specifically is that Berlin is very international. And so, for a start, most people speak English. So that's not entirely true, actually. You sometimes come into a small issue with language, but in general, people speak English, so you're kind of okay. And there are a lot of people from all over the world here. So, for example, the friend that I was out with this afternoon, he's lived in Berlin for 10 years and he doesn't speak German. Now, and he, American guy. Now, that's perhaps a little bit, I mean, you would think after a decade, you might have bothered to learn. And maybe, I think he's done some courses, I don't know. He's just never really picked it up. But he's lived here absolutely fine for a decade without speaking German. So, you know, if that gives you an idea, what it would be like in one of the other places, I don't know what it would be like in Hamburg. I don't know what it would be like in Munich, and certainly one of the smaller towns. I think it would be more problematic. Here in Berlin, you can certainly get away with it, let's say. I'm not saying it's ideal. And look, if I was seriously going to be here for a considerable length of time, I would at least attempt to learn some German, because I think it makes sense to do it. But I'm afraid to speak it at the moment. I do get people to, I had to sort out some stuff, and I got a virtual assistant to help me, writing some letters and things like this, which has been quite helpful. Okay, right. Sorry, mate. You asked a question, didn't you? I will come back to that. Imel Love says, "Make me a sandwich." I don't think I'm going to do that. I haven't got any bread left, actually. Lame Duck says, "Are you actively looking to use game and pull on this Berlin jaunt?" No, not really. I'm here for work purposes. Not even. It's basically I'm here because I've got a property here and I've had to do some stuff associated with that. And I'm also doing some. Obviously, I'm just working while I'm here. It's not that kind of a trip. I mean, obviously. You should be taking any opportunity that you've got to socialize, to meet new people, but that's not the primary reason that I'm here. Unfortunately, I think you could definitely do it. I mean, there are people around for sure, but it's not the best time because it's like London was 2 or 3 weeks ago. There's nowhere you can really go. You can go for a walk in the park, but you can't. There's no bars. There's no, so it's not the greatest time for that stuff. But that's anyway not the primary reason why I am here. JD's talking about Berghain. Is it best to pretend you aren't British when queuing for Berghain? I'm told they're wary of Brits. Maybe, yeah. I mean, I hadn't noticed that as such. I don't know. I think the truth is that they favour Germans and they favour locals. Whether they're particularly prejudiced against the Brits, I don't know. I haven't heard that. Or I haven't experienced that. Because, again, someone like Berghain, you get a very international crowd going there. So you'll get British people, but you'll also get Spanish, Israelis, I mean, just whatever, right? You get people from all over the world coming to visit the club. So I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't think it's so much that they don't like the British as much as they probably favour the Germans, and certainly they favour people who are there regularly. I mean, if you're a regular and you know the doorman, you're going to go through. But in the main, although even that is not 100% guaranteed. The worst thing is to be a tourist. If you seem like you're a tourist, and particularly if you're like a tacky tourist. If you rock up wearing a pair of like Bermuda shorts and a loud shirt and you're like, way, kind of thing, you're not going to get in. So like British, I don't know that they're particularly anti that, but it also would then depend what kind of British person you are. I mean, if you're like a serious, like, you're really into the music, you're like a real techno kind of person, you're going to have more of a chance of getting in than if you're some Geordie Shore type character, So I hope that helps. You see what I'm saying? JMC, what's up coming for CAD Live now you've wrapped up AOS? Oh, art of seduction. Okay, I will be launching CAD Live again, but I'm going to do it in June because we've got this other conversation course which is going to be coming out in May. Okay, so this month I'm going to do a pre-launch very soon for the conversation course. That's going to come out at the end of March and May, and then we will do CAD Live. We will do CAD. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. You're talking. I thought you were talking about CAD Academy, the course. I thought you were talking about CAD Academy, the course. Well, CAD Live. Okay, so we've got James Tusk. I'm doing something with him tomorrow in the morning. And then we have James Marshall from the Natural Lifestyles, and he is going to be joining me on Friday, which I'm really looking forward to. And then next week, I'm not sure yet, but we're going to continue to just do some shows. I think I was saying with Jack, we'll probably do maybe a weekly show or something for the next few weeks. Probably not related to any particular book or anything, because it's quite a lot of work. We do want to start doing the 48 Laws of Power at some point, but we'll probably just do like a show where we just, shoot the breeze back and forwards, maybe talking about European perspective on dating, and then look at doing 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene in a month or so, perhaps. What else have we got? Deutsche Sprache schwer Sprache. German language, difficult language, is a saying in German, so I don't blame anybody not wanting to learn it. Yeah, I did do it at school, actually. I did do it at school, but I can't remember any of it, to be honest. Don DeMarco says, come out to Florida and hit F&F, Fresh and Fit. Yes, absolutely. That's definitely on the cards. If you whisper German into a girl's ear, it's a guaranteed panty dropper. Yeah. Not sure about that. Bull Rush, good evening, sir. How are you? Good to see you here. Says, give Ernst Graf his dressing gown back. Seriously, congratulations for the 1 million views. Thank you, sir. Good to see you here, mate, as always. Strategic Dating says, do you notice difference in women's attitudes in Berlin versus Cologne? A few buddies and I went to Cologne to game, and it was an utter fail. I have to admit, I haven't actually been to Cologne. I would like to visit Cologne for a couple of reasons, but I haven't yet, so I don't know. I've been to Munich and I've been to Hamburg, so I can't talk about Cologne specifically. I think Berlin is quite stuck up in a way, because even though Berlin is quite poor as a city, the mayor, the former mayor said, we're poor but sexy, which is quite a famous expression or phrase that was said about Berlin. The girls, I think generally people are quite stuck up because people regard it as being quite a cool city, and everybody's sort of quite cool, and if you're not part of a clique or the in crowd, then so I think there's a bit of that going on. What else? I mean, I think my overall impression with Berlin is that while you can absolutely do daytime approach here without a doubt, and there are people that do it. There's a scene of day game people who are based in Berlin, and I've certainly done it here and had some success and whatever. I would still say that it's more of a nightlife place, to be honest, because it really comes to life at night. And you go to some clubs, and the clubs are just crazy. There's crazy stuff going on in the clubs. People are acting crazy. It's a very hedonistic culture. It's very sort of off the hook, and I think that's really where it happens. And I've certainly seen more attractive girls in the clubs here than I have in the streets. It's not to say there aren't attractive women in the streets, because of course there are, but Berlin's quite big and it's quite spread out, and there's a higher concentration, I would say, within the nightlife. So, you definitely want to check out the night scene if you're here. And obviously now you can't do that because it's all closed. Trésor was a lot of fun. Absolutely. Near to Kit Kat Club now. Trésor, I think they moved their premises. Kit Kat Club has as well. But in their current incarnations, they're basically next to one another. I once went to Kit Kat Club and I was wearing some like plastic black trap, like fake leather trousers, because you've got to wear this stuff to get in. For some reason I left Kit Kat and I went over to Trésor, and I was getting some very strange looks in Trésor because it was maybe not quite de rigueur in there, which I was quite surprised at, because I thought Berlin was like really, you think it's going to be really off the hook and you can just, anything goes. But yeah, I was getting some funny looks. But yeah, Trésor is obviously good as well. Famous techno club. Would love to see you on Fresh and Fit post-pandemic. 100%, mate. It's on the cards. Just need to get over there when it's permitted, which hopefully won't be long. What else have we got? My friend had to do a PCR test for 130 to fly from Barcelona to Bulgaria. There it is only 50. Apparently in Ukraine it's 30, all for the same BS. Yes, I've heard in Ukraine it's 30, and apparently Russia it's also 30. In London, it's more like £130, which I guess in euros is what, like about 160, 150, 160. So yes, it is. It is certainly, it's overpriced. I mean, putting aside your view on tests and all the rest of it anyway, clearly there's a big disparity in prices, and if they want everybody to be taking tests every 5 minutes, then they do need to try and get the prices down. I mean, even here they're quite expensive. I mean, I think I've got to get one when I go back, and I'm told it's going to be about €70, which is better than London, but it's still a lot more than 30, right? So yeah. Ethan says, gotta love the artsy, free-spirited chicks of Berlin compared to the artsy, free-spirited chicks of Portland, Oregon. Are you saying they're different kinds of free-spirited and artsy? So when I was here last year, Tom Torero was here. I live quite near to this big park, which is over there. And he was in the van, and he parked up the van, and he really loved the vibe, because what you've got is this very hippie-ish, free-spirited, free love kind of a vibe of all of these people out in the park, in the sunshine, drinking, hooking up, just, and there's this. That's a side of Berlin that I haven't really explored as much, probably because I was much more into the clubs and the nightlife and the seedy, places and things. But there is this kind of free-spirited, quite hippie-ish side of it as well, and that actually links in because you've also got this quite liberal side to Berlin, in the sense of there's a lot of yoga and probably vegans and all of this kind of thing, and that may not be your bag. We've blurred. And that's fine, but there are quite a lot of very free-spirited sort of people over here, which is good, or could be good. I'll be hitting you up for a collab in the future. Yeah, man, just drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, and we can discuss. Lady Sullivan says, mega shout out to everyone. Hello, good to see you, Lady Sullivan. PR Genki, first time on your channel, bro. Thanks for tuning in, mate. Very much appreciated, and thank you to everybody who's tuning in. Nick August, the venerable Nick August, the editor of Punch Riot magazine, where some of my wonderful writings are published. There's a new story out this month. If you go to Punch Riot on Patreon, you can subscribe to the magazine. It's only $5 a month. Anyway, Nick says, congrats on the 1 million, bro. Well earned. Thank you, sir. Good to see you here, and thanks ever so much. Appreciated. Dogs of Food says, what is this? Well, who knows? What is anything, really? What is life? I mean, I'm not sure about this one. Don DeMarco says, if you have time, what do you think of consensual non-consent in a Dom sub context? The main girl I'm seeing wants to try it. Too much room for misunderstanding. Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't even heard that term, to be honest. It's probably beyond the scope of this particular stream. I mean, I would say tread carefully. Is my only thought on that, really. Yeah, it's a tricky one. That I think actually that, I mean, the wider point though. There's a great focus on consent, and there's nothing wrong with that, because sex should always be consensual, right? You know, sex is something to be enjoyed between two people, and two people of consent. I mean, you know, that's sort of a no-brainer, really. So there's, you know, because consent, fine, but you do wonder, because then you've got scenes, these sort of kink scenes where the mores are sometimes different, and this is, you know, nothing that I'm involved with, but you know, there are these sort of dom sub type relationships and things, and you kind of think, well, how's that really gonna fit? And I'm not sure what the current thinking on that is, to be honest, because I'm not close enough to any of that stuff. But proceed with caution, I think, is the best thing to say. We come on an hour now, and which is longer than I thought we'd do. What I really wanted to say on this stream, then, I'll probably just say it quite quickly, is you really want to just demand more for yourself in life. And what I mean by that is that I always think, you know, like when we're young or in life, we're dealt certain cards, aren't we? You know, you're dealt, what are the cards you're dealt? You know, where you're born, the family you're born into, what you look like, how tall you are, how intelligent you are, whatever your, you know, how sporty you are, whatever your particular talents and proclivities are. There are certain things that you're kind of born with, or you're born into. Some of those are changeable, some of them aren't very easy to change, or they're impossible to change. But some of them are things that you can change. Like if you were, is anyone born fat? I suppose you're not born fat, but you know, if you were, say because of your, this is actually the case for me, say because of your early life, your upbringing, you were you were somewhat malnourished and you were quite skinny. That's certainly something that you can work on to improve. You can certainly improve your physique. You know, you can work out and all the rest of it. So there are things that we can change. But anyway, you're born into a certain situation with certain attributes. And all things being equal, those attributes, by and large, would mean that you could expect certain outcomes in life. Like you could expect a certain sort of sex life or love life. You could expect to get a partner of a certain sort of attractiveness, or of within a certain band of attractiveness. You can expect to get a certain kind of job or achieve a certain kind of career. You could expect broadly to earn a certain amount of money, or to live a certain sort of life. And generally speaking, it tends to be somewhat equivalent to whatever your parents did. You know, so you get this old thing, you know, his dad is a violin player, so he becomes a violin player. His dad is a bookkeeper, so he becomes a bookkeeper, whatever, right? So, you know, and it's very easy to sit there and to think, okay, so this is just what I'm going to get. My life is now mapped out. I'm going to get this kind of wife. I'm going to get this fairly sort of plain, dumpy kind of wife. I'm going to get, you know, a fairly boring middle management job. I'm going to have a suburban life. I'm not going to travel very much, and then I'm going to die. You know, and it's very easy to just look at life and think, okay, well, you know, that was the hand I was dealt. I'm this kind of guy. That's the kind of life I'm going to get, and you know, whatever, and just go along with that. My appeal to you today is not to accept any of that, and actually to demand more for yourself from your life. And the reason that I put forward this message is because this is really what I did when I was younger, because of the way that I looked, and the way that I came across, and my build perhaps, and the fact that I wasn't a particularly sporty guy and head of the football team and all of that stuff. There were certainly women who were interested in me, but by and large, if I'd have just followed the natural course of events, and that includes, by the way, living in a suburban town, I would probably have ended up being married to somebody who was I wasn't hugely attracted to, but was, nice, and having a very conventional suburban life, and, not really experiencing much of the richness that life has to offer. It's not to say there's anything wrong with that sort of life as such, but it's just that there are clearly magnitudes outside of it. And it's easy to sit there and watch people on the internet and, I don't know, watch Andrew Tate and think, well, okay, but he's that kind of guy, so he's going to have that kind of life. And I'm not that kind of guy, so therefore I'm not going to have that kind of life. And my exhortation to you is to refuse to think like that, and to demand from life that you are going to get more than your share. Now, I'm not saying that you are going to get the share that would be commanded by Leonardo DiCaprio or Justin Bieber or insert another celebrity here. But you want to be getting more than your fair share of the pie. And I'm not just talking about dating here. I'm talking about in all different areas. Because if you look at an Instagram influencer and they've jetted off to Dubai, and now they're going to Miami, and they were in Mexico last month, and they're having this fantastic time, it is not right for you to sit back and go, oh, well, looks like they've got a nice life. I'm just not that kind of person. Lucky them. I'll just accept my lot here in the suburban town, working at the accountant's office. Bullshit. Don't accept that. Don't accept what is just doled out to you. Okay? Because, and we talk about this every time, but got to remember, we're only here for a very short amount of time. We're only on this planet for a finite number of years, and certainly a finite number of decades, or certainly a finite number of useful, active decades. Okay? And you're going to die anyway, and the universe is going to be either it's going to become a block of ice and everything's going to be destroyed, or it's going to burst into flames, or one of the two, depending on who you read. So none of this really kind of matters anyway, right? Like it's all sort of, it matters a lot while you're here and you're compos mentis and you're alive, but as soon as you die, it's like game over, isn't it? It doesn't matter anymore. So you might as well give this your best shot. And what I mean by that is you might as well think, well, okay, what would I like to experience before I'm either a rotting corpse 6 feet under in the ground, or I'm burnt to a crisp and then sprinkled in a car park somewhere. What kind of life would I like to experience? What kind of experiences would I like to have? What sort of episodes would I like to be in the story of my life? You want to think about that. And then you want to think, okay, so what can I do to get there? And yes, money is a big factor in this, of course. And if you can earn a shitload of money and you can become rich, then brilliant, do that. And we should all be striving for more money, right? Because money kind of makes the world go round, and it makes a lot of this stuff easier. But it's not just about money. Because as I was saying the other day, the experience of jumping into the Mediterranean Sea when it's 30 plus degrees heat and there's not a cloud in the sky and it's a beautiful day, that experience is the same broadly whether you are a multimillionaire or whether you haven't got, you've got 10 euros in the bank, right? It's the same experience, okay? Now, obviously, if you're a multimillionaire, you can stay in better hotels, you can eat more expensive food, you can wear designer clothes and things like this. But ultimately, many of the core fundamental experiences, travel, feeling the sun on your skin, going in the sea, having sex, writing poetry, listening to music, running, looking at a beautiful, iconic view. A lot of these things, money isn't going to improve that specific experience. The experience is going to be the same, okay? So yes, pursue money because it makes sense to do that. But you also want to pursue experiences, and you also want to think, okay, so how can I get to that experience, or how can I get to an experience that is akin to the experience that I want to have? So, for example, like Tulum, loads of people are in Tulum in the last few months in Mexico because it's it's kind of open, it's a party place, there's music, there's sunshine, beautiful women, all of that jazz. Okay, you could go there as a multimillionaire and have a balling time, and it's going to be amazing. But you could also go there on a budget, right? You can go there on a budget. You can stay in a cheap hotel. You can get a single room in a hostel. You could get an Airbnb. You could stay somewhat out of town, so it's a bit cheaper, and you're still going to be there. You're still going to be experiencing that vibe. You're still going to be hearing the music. You're still going to be like going on the beach, going into the sea, all that kind of stuff. So yes, money, 100%. You want to try and get some money. But equally, you also want to think, okay, how can I shortcut my way to some of these experiences? And then when you're using your charisma, when you're using your conversation skills, which I'm going to be addressing in the program I'm going to be putting out very soon. When you're using these things and you're able to come across in a socially congruent manner, which communicates status, then what you're going to find is you're going to be able to influence people around you. And so suddenly, you're chatting to a guy at the bar and he's got, he's going to the VIP party later and he says he can get you and your friend into the VIP party. And then there you are, you're in the VIP party, having an amazing time. And now your experience is pretty much indistinguishable from that of the multimillionaire standing next to you. So launching yourself in the direction of the kinds of experiences you want to have is the first thing. And then learning the charisma and the persuasion or the influence skills, if you like, so that you can get on with people and so you can get people to like you and get people to want to hang out with you, will get you a lot of the rest of the way, okay? And what's this about? It's not about laying on your deathbed going, well, I've died with the most money, or I've got the most, I've got the most Bitcoin, so I win. Because nobody cares about that when you're going to die. What matters is to think back and to think, yeah, I had some bloody amazing experiences, because that's what you're going to remember. You're going to remember the sunset over Esvedra. You're not going to remember. Well, maybe you will. You're not going to remember the exact price at which you bought Ethereum, and then what you finally exited the market at, right? I mean, like, that's all great stuff, but experiences are the key thing, okay? And experiences, yes, money will help you achieve experiences, but you can also have experiences for less money. So, but experiences, that is the thing. That is the thing you need to concentrate on. So if you've got the money, great. But if you haven't, start thinking about, okay, yes, I want to get the money, but I want to have the experiences. So how do I get nearer to getting those experiences? And one of the first things is freeing yourself up, right? Because if you're self-employed, or if you're, at least you're like a remote worker, but ideally if you're self-employed, then you're suddenly mobile, right? And then you can go to a different place. You can just pack up in the middle of the week and get on a plane when we're allowed to get on planes again, and go to a different place. And put yourself into the action and have these great experiences. And so freeing yourself up, I think is the first thing that you need to do. And we could do some more content on that if you want. I've done content in the past about self-employment and things like this. I don't really think it's my ballpark, to be honest, to be advising people too much on this stuff, because apart from in my own very narrow little field, I'm not like an expert per se. But it's certainly something to consider, because you want to free yourself up so that you have opportunity, you have time, and you have opportunity to put yourself into interesting situations, because ultimately that's going to lead to better experiences and you're going to have a richer life. And as I say, demand more from your life. Don't just sit around and watch these people on YouTube and think, oh, damn, that Tusk's got a cool life, or, Tate's got a cool life, or Jack Napier's making some cool Lego ships. Why can't I do that? Use it for inspiration, but then maneuver yourself so you're in a position to make it happen for yourself. Because, and this is something Tom Torero said, if one man can do it, then you can do it, okay? You've just got to find out how he did it, and you've got to replicate it for yourself. Okay, well, look, we've been on for about an hour and 15 now, which is quite a long time, actually. Collab idea, St. Robert from Project Tusk. Yes, I quite like I quite like that dude from what I've seen. So yeah, we'll try and do that. Dave says, did you notice the change from 30 to 40 that Rollo talks about in his book, also known as Women Suddenly Starting to Pay You? Well, yes, I mean, there's certainly we talked about this on Rule Zero, I think, the other day. There's certainly a shift in the power dynamic as guys become more desirable as they get older, and I certainly experienced that. Yes. I don't know what the fuck that is. Cheers for answering my left field question. Yeah, no problem at all. Agree, experiences are great. It's all about experiences, really, at the end of the day, because that's what you're going to remember. That's what you're going to remember, when you're on the old deathbed, So yeah, all right. Look, that's probably about it. Thank you for tuning in for this wonderful show, this wonderful celebration of 1 million views on YouTube. And who can blame those people for giving me those 1 million views when you've got content as world class as this? But thanks to everybody who's tuned in. Thanks to everyone who supported me. Thanks to all the haters for pushing even more traffic in my direction. It's much appreciated. Yeah, so that's it really for today, unless anyone's got any very final questions. But what we're going to do, as I say, tomorrow I'm going to be on here early-ish with James Tusk, and we're going to be talking more about travel, as well as some of the projects that we've got coming up. That is going to be, I believe, at 11 a.m. UK time, 11:10, 9, 8, 7, 6, which is 6 a.m. EST, 11 a.m. UK, 12 noon in Europe, and then I'm going to be on John Modern Life Dating's webinar in the afternoon for the Masculine Empowerment Network. So I'm looking forward to that. And then on Friday at 11:30 a.m. EST, very big interview with James Marshall from The Natural Lifestyles, which I'm very much looking forward to, and you guys should definitely come along and check out. All right, that's it from me from Berlin for tonight. Have a great evening. I'll speak to you again very soon.